One time I was at my cousin Sardina's party and the girl who was at the party got possessed by a spirit because they started doing the contest, one of those they do at parties, to win some lame prizes. But the host was making jokes that made me cringe so hard and I thought I'd better leave in an Uber, but when I checked, the Uber cost $380. So I said maybe I do feel like staying a little longer. But during that time, the worst happened. A girl went up to compete. She began staring uncomfortably at everyone, then grabbed the microphone and spoke in another language. And everyone at the party felt super uncomfortable. And we were all like, what's wrong with this girl? But in the end, her parents had to take her from the party with a priest so he could bless her.
I love you, God. I love you, God. I trust in you, Jesus. I trust in you. I love you.
I love you. I'm going to give you a visual demonstration of what that girl did that day. They're a bunch of slackers. In fact, that day my biggest fear was that the damn girl would turn her head 360 degrees like the girl from The Exorcist and her eyes would roll back. Can you imagine that? By the way, is there any news about the girl? Later after the party, she was going to go into a river and she didn't even know how to swim. Good thing she called her parents. They called the police, fearing what happened to the girl in the video, thrown into the water, unable to swim, would happen to her too. Once, when I was 11 years old, my dad woke me up at 5:30 in the morning because I had to go to school. Furry bears. When it was time to get dressed, I put on a sock inside out, but ended up just staring at a Lightning McQueen sandal for about 18 minutes. And in the background on the TV you could hear, "Yes, daddy," the television and radio workers. Then I hear my dad coming to see if I was ready. But I was there without clothes with a sock inside out and staring at a sandal. My dad smacked me on the back of the head so I'd snap out of it and hurry up. One time my friend Chichimeka ate like 5 pieces of my dog's kibble because we had a competition to see who got the fewest kills in Call of Duty, and whoever lost had to eat dog food. So I won, and Chichimeka didn't want to eat Mickey's pedigree, my dog's food, but he had to go get some kibble. And when he came back to the room, he put them in his mouth and started chewing them. Honestly, I was dying of laughter, so I asked him, what do they taste like? And he tells me they taste like food of the gods and angels. But then my little dog Mickey came into the house and Chichimeka says, look, he came in to look for his kibble. One time, my little cousin Tizok put a little firecracker on the back of a boy who lived near our house. But crazy Tizok put the firecracker on Chuchin because we didn't like him. So that crazy guy got the idea to look for a quadruple firecracker to play the prank. But we opened like 17 bags and the quadruple firecracker never showed up. But then finally we found a firecracker that had 4 fuses. And Tizok grabs it, goes to Chuchin and says, "Merry Christmas, little buddy." So Chuchin was about to give him a hug, but while they were hugging, Tizok took the chance and stuck it on his back and ran off. In the end, Tizok got blamed, and after the beating his parents gave him, he almost went to meet God. Run, fatty! Run, fatty! One time my dad embarrassed me at school when I was 7 years old because my mom had gone on a trip. So my dad had to take care of me. But from the very first day, which was Monday, he messed up and sent me to school the best way he could because he took me without my Tarzan underwear, with a super exotic hairstyle, pants that weren't even part of the uniform, and my shirt on backwards. So right before classes started, the teacher saw me and said, "Your dad brought you to school, right?" I asked, "Yeah, how did you know?" And in the end, they sent a note to my parents that said, "Parents, this is a school, not a circus. Please send the child properly dressed." And when my mom got back from her trip, she told my dad he was being silly. One time, my dog Mickey almost went to dog heaven. It was my fault because one day I wanted to take him for a walk, but I didn't have a leash. So at that moment, I came up with the brilliant idea, one even Einstein wouldn't have thought of, to use a plastic zip tie. One of those that tightens more the harder you pull. And I put it around his neck, but accidentally I pulled too hard and almost choked my poor dog. But before he turned purple, my 11-year-old self had a light bulb moment and ran to get some scissors to cut the strap, and thank God my parents never found out. I hope they don't see this video. One time my friend El Cubito was about to eat rat poison at school because that guy spent a lot of time playing Minecraft. And we used to call him a little rat, so fed up, one day he brought rat poison. And in front of everyone, he put it on his food to prove to us that nothing would happen to him because he wasn't a rat. But just as he was about to take a bite and put it in his mouth, my friend El Solovino came and kicked this sandwich so he wouldn't take the bite and go meet God. Well, I'm looking at this. One time when I traveled by plane for the first time, I almost forgot my BlackBerry phone inside the plane because I put it in the net in front of the seat. But when we arrived in Acapulco, I got off really excited and left my phone there. But then I wanted to take a picture inside the airport and realized I didn't have my phone. And at that moment it hit me and I remembered that I had left it. And to top it off, that plane was going to Venezuela. So if I didn't run to look for my phone, was my poor phone going to end up in Venezuela? So I ran as fast as I could. And the good thing is that in the end, the plane was still connected to the jet bridge. Otherwise, my parents are gonna kill me, okay?
Later, man.
One time, my friend El Cabra would fall down by himself just from the wind when we played soccer. Because during every school recess, we spent our time playing soccer. But El Cabra spent more time on the ground than actually playing. And the thing is, sometimes I would pass him the ball because he was alone. Then I'd look away and look back again. And El Cabra was already on the ground without anyone touching him. One day we asked him, "Hey Cabra, what's wrong with you? Why do you fall down by yourself?" And he didn't say a word. He just took off his shoe and showed us the reason. He had a bunion bigger than Everest itself. Goodbye.
Pizza here.
One time my friend El Calaca brought about 3 liters of beer to school and got almost the whole school half drunk because his uncle was a bit of a drunkard. So he would always say, "Hey son, go get some Kawasakis." But one time El Calaca bought him 3 large beers. But he stole one from his uncle and took it to school in a thermos. But that guy was offering it to the whole school. So since everyone said yes and drank, the teachers were saying that the students were crazier than ever. And the teachers never knew why. That day we were all hyped up.
Танцем.
Ich will nicht.
Komm, trinken.
Ich will nicht.
Once, when I was dumb in a kid, my dad found me crying in my room because he saw I was watching a video on my laptop saying I was never going to meet One Direction. And back then I was a fan of those guys. And the video said that I was in Mexico and they were in the United Kingdom and I was next to them and also kilometers away from them. But right at that moment, when I was about to start crying, my dad decided to come into the room and asked me, "Why are you crying, son?" And I told him for a reason. But he took my laptop and found pictures of men. He asked, "Son, have you switched sides?" I replied, "No dad, it's not what it looks like." Once, when we were flying to Argentina, my poor mom was so embarrassed in front of the whole flight as we entered the airplane cabin. My mom saw who she thought was the captain and she said, "Captain, we're in your hands." And she practically knelt before him as a sign of respect. But a little while later, after the flight had been going for 45 minutes, the same person who she thought was the captain walked by handing out water and collecting trash. My dad told my mom, "There's your captain, ask him for water for me." Embarrassed, she went to the cockpit. "Go on, mom, ask for water. Here it is." One time, my dad almost sent my mom's dad, I mean his father-in-law, to his grave because my grandpa was sick with diabetes and on top of that, he was on a diet because they were preparing him for an operation. So my dad bought himself a champurrado, which is a sweet drink, and he offered some to my grandpa. But my grandpa really liked it. So my dad took it away from him and ended up drinking it himself. But later on, his blood pressure went up like to 150 and in a few hours, he was going to have surgery. And in the end, my grandpa says to my dad, "It's your fault. Why the heck did you give me that thing?" Mama, I'm a criminal, mama.
I'm a criminal, mama. Mama, I'm a criminal, mama. Mama, I'm a criminal, mama. Mama, I'm a criminal, mama.